Well, jury deliberations continue today in the murder trial of federal agent Christopher Deedy. Now, prosecutors believe Deedy could have walked away from the fight that led to Deedy shooting and killing 23-year-old Colin Elderts. Defense attorneys maintain Elderts and his friends started the fight that ended with Deedy shooting in self-defense. Deedy faces a second-degree murder charge carrying a sentence of life with the possibility of parole, or he could be acquitted of all charges. Now, joining us live this morning is David Hayakawa. He's an attorney who's seen many high-profile cases here in the islands, and he's here to talk about some legal analysis. Good morning, David, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on your last day.
Oh, you're welcome. So I have to ask you, as you've been watching this trial, do you have any predictions in terms of a guilty or not guilty verdict?
Yeah, I've learned a long time ago you really can't tell what's going to happen. I mean, this is an all-or-nothing trial. The one thing I'd tell people is friends have been asking me, well, they've been out a day and a half or something. That's nothing given the length of this trial. So just to go through all this evidence, it wouldn't surprise me if they went another day or even longer.
I mean, just listening to the jury instructions from the judge, it was incredibly long, and I would imagine the jurors had to be very focused in just listening to the instructions. What do you think that the jurors are going through right now?
Well, I think there's two key points here that separate this case from most. First of all, this jury is that, number one, jurors are not allowed to talk about this evidence. Now, this evidence came in a very strange way. You had all these witnesses lining up talking about this choppy videotape, frame by frame by frame, and different witnesses having different perceptions, and the jury wasn't able to say, hey, what did you think of that one, or you agree with that lady, or the security guard, or whatever it may be. So now this is their first chance for them to, as a group, to go through this videotape and for them to all throw in their own 2 cents on, well, remember when the security guard said this, remember when the Marine said that, and really match it up. And of course, just speaking of the videotape, one would assume usually, well, if you have a videotape, that explains everything. You know, it's everything's crystal clear, but this is a very choppy, multi-angled kind of tape, and things obviously are not clear.
Right, and when, you know, deliberations started, an individual juror might have a specific thing in their mind, and then when they get all together, they might change their minds, and so that's why this process is taking a long time?
Well, it's not that long. They've only been out a day and a half, or less than a day and a half, and, you know, the very first day you're kind of overwhelmed a bit, I'd imagine, anyway, after you elect your foreman. But that tape, going through it bit by bit and matching up all those witnesses does take a while. I note that it is, the defense has possibly an advantage because Mr. Deedy, who is a very well-spoken individual, was the last to go and was able to give his version of what that frame-by-frame process was. So possibly that stuck into the jurors' minds a bit more effectively.
Well, David, certainly when the verdict comes out, we will be sure to let our viewers know on air, online, and on their mobile devices. But David Hayakawa, thank you so much for your insight this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Paul, back to you.